Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. I'm your host, Ben, and I am joined by Matt and Andrew today. How's it going, guys?
So
What up?
I found an old postcard from a long lost relative and heated it up and found a treasure map. It was really lit.
It had secret clues on it.
Can I ask how you knew to heat it up, though?
Because I watch National Treasure every night.
See,
The only movie I watch.
if it was National Treasure night, I would just be using some lemon juice.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah,
put it in an oven
that is true.
or used a hair dryer.
Yeah, it was a blow dryer. Get it right.
Sorry. My alternative version is pirated.
For me, if I was to try that trick, using a shoddy Zippo lighter to just
You'd light it on fire.
gently heat, yeah, I would just burn a hole through the middle, and
Yeah, just gone.
and unimaginable wealth just gone, flipped through my fingertips as I burn myself.
And then have to go to the hospital and pay hospital bills.
Yes, because we live in America. But folks, we're talking the Uncharted movie today. Those of you who have not seen it will be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" It's like, what are they riffing? Maybe I should let them cook though. But folks, we are at least two-thirds of the show present here. I don't know if Mike has played Uncharted games, but say Andrew
Like
and
said,
I.
he's watched you play. He hasn't played, but he's watched the movie.
Okay, I know he watched the movie. He sent me his thoughts, which let me make sure I have those. I have those pulled up. But so yeah, half of the full comrades are big Uncharted fans here.
Oh yeah.
Just before we started recording, we were just talking quickly about our history playing the games. So I'm the only one, or say the only one I have not played is the original Drake's Fortune game. We were just looking into it. It was like, one of the first PS3 games, one of the, first major expansions from Naughty Dog after the Jack and Daxter series, goated, a goated series in and of itself. But yeah, Andrew, what were you saying your play history is for them?
Yeah, I played let's see, Drake's Fortune. Honestly, I'm fairly certain it was like a bundle that I got with my PS3 when I got my PS3. So, game near and dear to my heart. And if it wasn't part of a bundle, it was the first game I played. So, always been a big fan. And I played Drake's Fortune. I played Uncharted 3, which is Drake's Deception, and then Uncharted 4, Thief's End. And I did not play the second one, but I did end up reading like the plots before playing the other games, and yeah, now I've seen the movie, whether I like it or not, twice.
Yeah, he's doing real pod hours. Real, saw it on his own we were all smart enough before to just not watch it for, tried to watch it for your own enjoyment. Mistake.
I did. It
Mistake. Foolish. But then yeah, the rest
my
of us,
reaction to anyone asking me to watch this for my own enjoyment is just the Danny DeVito, just the no.
no. But yeah, so I started with Uncharted 2. I started with Among Thieves, which was like, a very wild plot line. It got into some, it's potentially some of the more it moves almost the most into kind of fantasy bit with it, because of like it revolves around you going to Nepal and finding Shambhala, which is basically Shangri-La.
Yeah.
And there's like these big Yeti creatures that you have to fight that I remember dying to a lot
That is
in
literally
these ice caves.
just the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah. It came out about the same time too.
Like identical.
But I just remember loving it was like my first experience with like I it's weird to me. Like I was about to say, like I remember loving the climbing aspect of it in the beginning, even though now looking back upon it, it's so simple, just the simple predetermined path type of thing where you're really not doing anything.
How dare you?
They really kind of did. They didn't really iterate on it until later, where they put some more actual mechanic to it. Yeah, where it's like you've got like the pick thing where you got to like jump to different things and hit the pick at the right time and use the grappling hook. Oh yeah, the new God of War absolutely took the 2018 absolutely took so many Sony exclusives took that level or that type of
traversal mechanics. Has the exact same traversal.
Horizon Zero Dawn was the exact same one, that they themselves iterated on with Forbidden West. Yeah, I don't know. There was just something I found enjoyable about it. It was kind of zen to me, but like it was some of my first kind of immersion into the truly kind of cinematic kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Which I found fun, but it was like it had this nice balance of it's like you're watching a movie. You're actually inserting yourselves into the movie, but then I also found the gunplay, the core of the gameplay itself to be very satisfying, to be challenging, to be engaging. And then I thought they were good stories. I thought they're good characters. I thought it was good writing. The GOAT Amy Hennig, is behind the Uncharted series.
Shout out Nolan North.
She's the one doing the Wonder Woman game, right?
No, she's doing
Captain America.
Yeah, the Captain. I think she's doing the Captain America, Black Panther.
Yeah. Sorry, they're all just kind of like slurring together in my brain.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman game is the one that's using the Nemesis engine.
Oh, yay. I mean, really cool. Like, appreciate that they're finally doing something with it, because they patented it like assholes and then never touched it again like assholes.
But since Uncharted 2, I've played every single one. I played Among Thieves. I played Drake's Deception, Thief's End, which was really good. And
I really liked it.
And I most recently played the spin-off Lost Legacy as part of the bundle for the PS5, which was a nice short little Lady Uncharted, which sounds like I'm doing a bit, but like it was good. It was enjoyable. We're
starting this year off on such a bang with 2 episodes in a row where we do a sexism.
Yeah, of course.
This wouldn't be a gaming podcast without it.
But yeah, I knew going in, way before we even decided to make this, do an episode on it, that the movie was bad, was going to be bad. It was going to hit the mark that or going to miss the mark. That is, sorry.
What? No.
And I just like, I was always struck by and watching it, I was absolutely vindicated in my main core assumption of it. That, however, I don't think the game was the movie was as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's just something like lifeless about it. Something very algorithmic about its construction. But it
like as an outside perspective, as someone who hasn't played the games, this felt like a movie that just had no like it didn't feel like it needed to exist. Like it felt like it was trying to just take advantage of an existing IP.
Yeah, and because it wasn't even trying to it didn't even do like what most bad video game adaptations do, like trying to check box of we'll hit this kind of nostalgia point from the franchise. What they were just trying to do was create their own new action adventure franchise, right?
Yep.
That's just what they were trying to do. Banking on an established IP. But it really just misses the whole point of the games. Its existence misses the whole point. Where the whole point and the whole draw of the game is that it's you, the player, are getting to take on the role of the cool action star, the cool treasure hunter, to be the quippy Indiana Jones. But
Do you know how much money this movie made?
It made money.
It made a good amount.
$400 million.
Yeah.
401 to be exact.
But what was its budget though? And what was its marketing budget? Because that might not be a profit.
You won't find the marketing budget.
If that was its global,
120 million.
So it probably did make money.
If that was its
the general box office thing is you have to make double. So,
I mean, they're setting up stuff to do a sequel that's gonna because this was technically basically supposed to be a prequel.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was young Nathan.
Because like the post credit scene, which we'll get to.
I didn't watch a post credit scene. It's the second the credits started.
You turned that off real quick.
It's because it happens very fast. It's a mid credit roll. But they're setting up the events to the first game. But yeah, it's just like the existence of this movie just like fully.
Wait, how can they be setting up the events of the first game? I've never played, but I know the iconic scene of him falling out the cargo plane, having to climb up the cargo.
And see, that's from this was such a weird mishmash too, because that was from Uncharted 3.
Yep.
They start the movie with the scene from Uncharted 3.
Well, how did I get here? Record scratch.
No, and it was so unnecessary. Yeah, it was a how do I like well, this is
they
me.
Didn't say
wonder
it,
how
but
I got
that's
here.
What it was.
Because the only time that was good was when Emperor's New Groove did it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is
the poison spot on take. Cusco's poison.
But we'll get into the structure of the film as well, like why they started with that. We're showing you the height of the action to pull you in and then move away. Like the reason for that was
instant dopamine hit. They want you locked
pointless.
in.
It was pointless. Like here's the main action set piece that's going to happen, during the actual climax of the movie. Let's give it to you now. But no, it's just
trailers do that too. That's my favorite movie trailer trait nowadays.
The existence of this film just completely ignores what made the games special, right? And what made them popular.
100%. And the pacing, I felt like the pacing of the games was so good, but the pacing of this movie was awful.
So much happened in the first 30 minutes.
And then it just ground to a halt. And then it just picked back up for the last 30 minutes.
Lots of leaps of logic.
And I think we're just dancing around the elephant in the room here, but I'm gonna put my foot down on it. I don't think Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland was a great acting duo choice.
I hate the casting. It's one of my biggest critiques of the whole movie.
I think Tom Holland doesn't have enough, because they're trying to portray him as this, I don't want to say shiesty because that sounds improper, but
anti-Semitic.
Yeah. They're trying to make him into this quick-fingered, stealing stuff from people.
Oh man, we'll do a plot breakdown and we'll get to how that shit plays out. I mean, because why he was really cast and what was really kind of baffling
is because
to me
Tom Holland is popular with the kids.
You're actually right. That is the main thing. But what they could then justify is he's basically an acrobat in of himself. That he has the physical skills to do the stunts, but they barely did any of that stuff, and the stuff they did do was supposed to be oh, look how cool this is, this is and it was so fucking lame. It was so lame. But we'll get to it. We'll get to that.
And then just let me finish my point of Mark Wahlberg just isn't him anymore.
So
he doesn't have a mustache or a paunch, and that's a complete miss.
He finally gets the mustache in that end credit scene.
Yeah.
And they do a joke about it. But see, I'm slightly I don't know if you can call this more positive, but I think that Tom Holland is actually kind of cut from the more, traditional cloth of, your kind of old school movies, old school now kind of movie star, in that, like, he's a bad actor who plays the same character in every single movie. Like, this was just Spider-Man. This was
Yes.
Peter Parker.
It very much
But
was.
more particularly, this is Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3 Peter Parker snapping down the street.
I don't. I mean, and Marky Mark is very similar in that ways, right? He plays the same, unless he's playing
Yeah.
Father Stu. He is the same character in every movie.
What? No. That Mark Wahlberg clip from The Happening.
And like I just found their ages feel off to me compared to the games. I don't know. I don't know if you felt that way, Ben.
It felt like grooming.
I mean, just because the fact that Tom Holland, is a 20-something adult who looks 17.
Yeah, I think that's what was throwing me off the whole time. That was one of my first things is if we're ready to jump into the plot, but
We're in it. Just go.
Yeah, let's go. So we did say, however, that we did already mention that the movie opens with Tom Holland, Nathan Drake, just stuck in the cargo netting of the iconic plane crash scene from Uncharted 3. But here we've got it with sub MCU level CG and dialogue.
Yeah, for
because
real.
when he wakes up, he keeps apologizing after sending henchmen spiraling to their death.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to do that.
That was the first note I made, was that why the fuck does he keep apologizing?
It was just instinct. I'm sorry. Oh man, it's just, but like for me, it was more the CG was just real bad.
CG's bad, real bad,
real bad.
Whoever
was in charge of the prop department too.
It is morally okay to kill if they're trying to kill you. Just keep your character that way, right?
Always. Yes.
Always. Stand your ground.
Yeah, so he's killing henchmen, climbing back up. Eventually, the scene cuts when he gets hit by the fancy Mercedes coming out the back, and he's got another quip. And then it cuts, and we go to a flashback 15 years earlier in Boston. Young Nate and his older brother Sam are breaking into a museum to steal a map that was belonging to Ferdinand Magellan for his expedition. This was like the first point that I noticed, just like whoever was in charge of like the prop department for this movie should be fucking blacklisted from the from the industry.
Yes,
it's like you couldn't even do
like
a little
plastic.
you couldn't even do a little tea bag staining around the edges, perfectly preserved, just like looks like it was printed at fucking at Staples at a Kinko's. It's real. It was really weird. But the one note I had here is that Sam, the older brother, is based because he does a social deprogramming. He schools young Nate that Magellan didn't actually circumnavigate the globe, that he just took credit for it.
Yes.
Yeah. This is actually one of the first big leaps in logic. And I know to an extent when you go to a movie, you have to accept certain things as part of why the movie exists. But, the whole kickoff being that these two kids want to steal a map from Ferdinand Magellan, setting up the what's the motivation there for Sam at his age to want this map?
It's just that they're history buffs, and that as he says at one point, it's like, we got pirate blood in us, or at least as the family story goes. They even undercut themselves there, which I don't think they ever do in the movies. It's just like an agreed upon fact that they are descendants of Francis Drake.
Yeah, in the game, I'm pretty sure it's just he's my long lost cousin. Yeah.
But yeah, so they just they do some exposition dumping, saying that the legend of Magellan is that the whole thing was not about circumnavigating the globe, but to find some hidden gold somewhere.
Which no shit, it was about gold.
Yeah, it's all about resources. All about money.
It's either regular gold, it's spice gold.
Yeah. The
Nowadays it's oil gold.
Yeah, they're back then they're not doing it for clout, you know. Clout sharking was not a thing. Was not a thing. You know, it's like I was the first one to do it.
Pulls
No,
out
it's
his
like,
phone, hits the TikTok. I'm going around the world for the round the world challenge. First mate's already got scurvy.
He's already lost several toes.
One of my mates has fucked a manatee.
Classic round the world shenanigans.
Daft Punk in the background.
So of course, as soon as they try to break in and steal the map, they get caught by security right away.
The most competent security.
This is just
True.
funny in that I found like in like a summary of the movie I was looking at just to refresh my memory. Someone puts it here that like, oh yeah, this is Sam's third strike, so he's kicked out of their Catholic orphanage, and they just put it as like they're kicking him out and forcing him to stay elsewhere away from Nate.
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't he going to jail? Isn't that the whole thing? It's like saying it's his third strike and the cops are taking him away.
Jail is elsewhere.
Yeah.
technically true. But yeah.
I thought that's what they were alluding to was our archaic 3 strikes laws, and Sam has a due date with prison for the rest of his life for
that he's going to juvie.
Who knew that you thought baseball was archaic?
And the one good plot point is that the nun doesn't actually care about, you know, keeping the family together or keeping him. You know, I mean, they're already institutionalized in the fact that they've grown up in an orphanage. But it's like, nope, get your shit and get the fuck out of here. But instead, Sam does a runner. You know, he gives Nate the ancestors ring that belonged to Francis Drake. That's got, you know, the sic parvis magna, the greatness from small beginnings. The basically the catchphrase that follows throughout the entire game series. Absolutely. And you know, it's the ring that we saw dangling from Nate's neck as he was unconscious in that first scene. But Sam leaves basically never to be seen again.
Yes.
We cut again to back to present day, but before the events of the start of the movies, which again is like makes me like so crazy about why they started the film with that little action sequence.
Yeah,
it was
no sense. I hate it.
It's like the worst, most blatant attempt at
I think they wanted,
but it makes no sense whatsoever.
You know the GIF of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
They wanted all the Uncharted fans in the theater to be doing that. Yeah. Or the Wojak meme where they're all pointing and looking.
Disarm them early enough. You know, it's like again we have checked our only box for the entire film, so that way you can't complain anymore about why Sully doesn't have a mustache and the rest of that. But yeah, so Nate is working as a bartender in New York City. He serves this, you know, snobby rich girl and steals from her. But what's very funny here in my note was he does a tips cap milady and mansplains the history of a Negroni.
Yes.
But all while doing what is supposed to be impressive bartending skills, but you know, it's just some shitty twirling of a napkin and circling a gin bottle around his head. That was like the first time, because I also remember seeing a press thing about like that Tom Holland spent some time, you know, like
trying to actually learn bartending.
Yeah, it's like doing bartending somewhere else. When it's like, look at all the cool things I learned, and it just looks the most try hard shit you've ever seen. It just is not impressive whatsoever. It just, you know, looks like he's just trying so hard. It does not look effortless at all, and what he is doing is just
that whole scene just felt so stilted. It like put me off from the very beginning on what this like. I thought he was supposed to be a much more charismatic character.
I mean, yes. Nathan Drake is supposed to be incredibly charismatic, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't feel charismatic. It felt, I mean, not to take the side, but it felt creepy.
So these games are like pre-MCU, right? So it's like he's like quippy, but not in the Whedon-esque way, you know?
When did the first game come out? 2007?
Yeah.
was that post MCU, but it's before. It's at least before it was cemented.
Edward Norton's Hulk.
Boo, doesn't count. Doesn't count.
And
doesn't
Iron
count.
Man both came out in 2006, 2007.
Doesn't count. So they were in production at the same time, so it doesn't count. But yeah, it's just like he's supposed to be an incredibly charismatic figure. A bit of a lady killer,
Yeah.
In this case,
Ladies
he
like
actually
him.
seems like a killer of ladies instead.
More Patrick Bateman than anything else.
Yeah, so he goes outside, does a bit where he can't get his lighter to work while she's trying to light a cigarette, and uses the opportunity to nag her diamond studded tennis bracelet. And
that's how you know she's wealthy.
Yeah, apparently he's observed by famed fortune hunter Victor Sully Sullivan, played by our boy Marky Mark Wahlberg. And yeah, he sees him swipe one bracelet, and apparently he knows from there that this kid has got what it takes to become a world-renowned treasure hunter.
But he knew his brother, so of course he knew he was going to be
No, so of course that gets explained later on. But like my note at the time is just like, what this was for me the first major leap in logic. It was just like you saw him do a shitty swipe of a little bit of sleight of hand. And again, you're like, oh, this is my guy. This is him.
If you're looking for that, you just go to like the streets of London and find a little street urchin.
Yeah, a little cut purse. Yeah. So it's pretty nuts. But yeah, he offers him a job. It's like, kid, I've got a heist planned.
Yeah, he's so blatant.
And eventually we get the son of a bitch, I'm in type of thing, as he, as Sully then steals the bracelet from him and replaces it with his business card. It's like, maybe a business card is basically just like, treasure thief Victor Sullivan.
Yeah.
Come break into my house. And which Nate does. He does another slick operation, bumps into the doorman of the place, steals the keys, does another pickpocketing and breaks in.
It's like the most blatant pickpocket thing that they show in movies. You'd think there'd be a better technique by now.
What was different about it is that he's a millennial pickpocket. He distracts him by texting on his phone. The misdirection is that, oh, I'm just so absorbed in my smartphone that I couldn't possibly be doing anything else. But yeah, so he breaks in, and before Sully reveals that this was all part of his grand plan to
machinations,
to suck Nate in. Nate is looking at all the cool artifacts that he's got around, but he gets struck dumb by finding that Sully's got this very same map that that he and his brother got caught trying to steal in that opening act. Sully reveals himself that he's knew that he was coming because he had a Shirley Temple prepared for him. How cute. And then they start doing more lore dumping. Now
that we're talking about it, I think Matt's right. Sully was actually looking for a younger boy to do some rough trade with. And
I was about to say, you never, ever accept a drink pre-made for you by a
just sitting there. You didn't see it get made. Yeah, you don't know what's in there. Shirley Temple can mask quite a lot.
There's a ton of sugar.
Yeah.
Ooh, does this taste like arsenic?
Yeah, they talk about Magellan's voyage and prove their history bona fides, and here it's where we get introduced to the villains of the film, which I think was an incredibly underserved Antonio Banderas.
So disappointing. Even the second time,
he probably only had to be there for a day and a half of work.
You want to know what's funny?
A good check.
Yeah,
I didn't even register that was Antonio Banderas. That's how jaded this movie
Amazing.
got me so early on.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's Antonio Banderas. But yeah, so he's the current scion of the the Moncada family, responsible for various atrocities and crimes against humanity throughout history, including funding some fascist regime somewhere. They threw that in, completely glossed over it. Just that, oh yeah, they're bad.
They're
They're
bad.
bad. They
I mean,
bad
when you
folks.
need to do it quick and dirty and tell people they're bad guys, just say they've funded fascist regimes. Boom. Done.
I do like that they chose a name that sounds similar to Monsanto.
That's some big brain thinking right there. He
Actually, Moncada is an Arabic derivation of Microsoft, and Sony's taking it.
So they're what they're trying to find is like the gravesite of Magellan's captain, this Juan Sebastian Elcano, the guy who actually finished the voyage. And like Sam, Nate's brother, had helped Sully steal the diary of this guy that has got all these clues, and it becomes a very, very poor man's National Treasure and like Da Vinci Code is what I was like finding through a lot of this, which are already pretty pretty pedestrian in their mystery and their all that type of stuff.
Hey man, I'll have you know, when I read Da Vinci Code in like 6th grade, it was blowing my goddamn mind.
You're telling me Jesus had a wife?
Jesus had a wife and kid? Heresy.
So of course, Nate
Jesus
is
only took dick.
Yeah, it's So why do you think he had 12 male disciples?
For real.
What do you think was going on there? But Nate is, of course, he's just like, no, I'm not gonna be part of this, but then immediately is convinced.
Immediately. That was something.
Yeah.
Like he literally looks at 3 postcards and changes his mind.
Yeah, he goes back home, looks at some postcards, is like, you know what? Let's do this.
Son of a bitch.
He calls him up, son of a bitch, I'm in. I want to point out in Nate's trunk of mementos, you see a Naughty Dog sticker, and a Supreme sticker ominously framed in the shot, confirming that Nathan Drake is an avid consumer of streetwear fast fashion.
Oh God.
He's a thief, so maybe he just knows to target Supreme wears.
So how do you miss that? That was like a clear branding, like a marketing thing. Like it was that squarely in frame,
real easy.
Yeah,
it was like perfectly framed at the bottom of the screen.
And then as he's pulling shit out of the trunk, he even gets like the superhero suit up music as he pulls out the old necklace with the ring on it and puts it on. Like, he's becoming the Nathan Drake that we know.
Debatable.
Hashtag not my Nathan.
No, we have 100%.
So they go into some heist planning. Again, we haven't even hit 30 minutes in the movie at this point. So much has fucking happened.
Yeah.
Sully informs Nate, that they got to go get this golden cross that apparently is one of 2 keys needed to find Magellan's gold. That sentence right there.
It's the exact same premise of here's a dagger ray, go stand at this one spot on this rock.
That perfectly shows the wreckage of the Death Star. Man, I fucking hate that movie so much.
Fuck, god damn it. Yeah, you suck.
So they got to go get it, but like they're not they're not the only ones after this, right? Santiago Moncado, that's Antonio Banderas's character. He's gonna be there. He's gonna try to steal it because he views the gold as his birthright. That was, stolen from, because they were the ones who we kind of missed this. They were the ones who actually funded the original Magellan voyage. They're like, oh yeah, the King of Spain couldn't afford this shit. We needed private financiers.
Yes, of course. The King of Spain couldn't afford it.
So they're making all their preparations. Nate's doing background checks on Sully. Which what he finds out when he confronts him is very funny. As they're getting ready for the event, though, you see that Sully is Nate's dad because he teaches him how to tie a tie.
Yes. Oh God.
Just another that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, another great little bit of banter.
That was we have
painful.
That was he's a young Nathan Drake, and we're gonna like hammer that home because he doesn't know how to tie a tie.
No, it's an incredibly tired trope.
Sully is daddy.
But so then he confronts Daddy, and it's like he reveals that he was a Navy helicopter pilot who was, quote, preserving artifacts from the Museum of Baghdad. And was dishonorably discharged for it because he says, like, oh yeah, like you were really just stealing that shit, right? And like, so that was the point where it's really like immersion breaking. That's absolute horseshit, because if this was real, those would have been his explicit orders.
Yeah.
You know,
he wouldn't have been dishonorably discharged. He would have been promoted.
He would have been promoted. It's just like stealing the cultural wealth of, you know, the cradle of civilization.
That is half of the point.
So that was a little bit of propaganda thrown in there. That was I'm pretty sure that, you know, because we know that every script in Hollywood gets shown to the Pentagon. That was their contribution. I mean, because it gets thrown to the Pentagon so they can, you know, like use equipment and stuff.
Yep.
Like probably like that's how they probably got the helicopters and shit at the very end. Oh boy. And it's just like that was that little bit thrown in there. Yeah. Like, yeah, no, it was bad to steal stuff from Iraqis, as we, you know, pillaged and looted and killed all their civilians. But no, that just gets.
I have something bad to tell you about all of the museums in Great Britain.
I don't think you understand. They owned those places. So all of that belongs to them.
Like I did a check, and it was after this next scene is where we actually got to the 30-minute mark, which, so again, is where things really
amazing.
Yeah, there was just a lot of shit going on
in that first third. But so
like, don't show us that opening part with him climbing up the cargo plane, and instead like dedicate that time to like expanding on characterization or something beyond just surface level. Like, oh look, he's a sleight of hand thief, and
abandoned
he theoretically has charisma because that girl liked what he said, even though it was like semi-serial killer vibe.
What did she say? Someone's like, you know, you're kind of weird, but also kind of cute.
Yes, that is exactly what she says to him.
In reality, that never works.
No. So they again, literally doing the definition of mansplaining. But so they go to the auction. They've got their plan. They're, you know, trying to blend in. Nate's doing the stupid shit where he's touching the earbud when they're talking to each other. You know, like, kid doesn't know what he's doing. He's a millennial fool.
Fucking nerd.
We run into one of the other antagonists, like the main henchman, because that's usually that is, I guess, another box that they check from the games. How there's usually like an overarching villain who has a
dirty work person.
Yeah, it's like the person who is financing them, who doesn't really get their hands dirty until the very end when you have to fight them. And then there's like the main like mercenary who is doing all the work. And he's, you know, getting shit for it. And so that is seen here. And of course, they're usually women. And so this one,
Fatels.
Yeah, this one is Joe Braddock. She, you know, she's a merc. She and Sully have had run-ins in the past. They
certainly could call it a run-in.
Run in and out and in and out. Again. So that's where we're formally introduced to Moncada. Antonio Banderas, is he not so subtly threatens Nate when they're like both looking at the cross that's up for auction, and, you know, it's like basically says, don't try to outbid me, kid, you know, or I'll kill you.
I feel like the auction house scene is like starting to become an overused like trope in movies. I feel like it's starting to get Uh,
Well, this one was supposed to, it's supposed to be like, oh, this is some high end, real fancy event, and it looked so small. It looked so small and cheap. It had something to do with, like, I think, like the kind of like
chairs they were sitting
it
in.
was like the postmodern kind of architecture shit. I think
And just like it's so the whole heist itself, like
completely
despite
falls
not
apart
working, is
too.
just it falls apart, but at the same time is way too easy. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, because they literally just they set it up in a wordless montage, right? So like it's like, oh yeah, it's just it's something we it's another, like, not to use this phrase again, but it's like, it's another box they have to check. It's not something that they actually need to develop. It's just like, oh no, they expect something like this, so let's get it. Let's get it out the door. We know it's not gonna go to plan, so why develop it at all? Why spend any time developing it or having it make
You're right.
having it make any sense?
Yeah.
It's going to go by so fast, and so much else is going to be going on that they'll forget.
And I will say this is the first scene where Nate begins to show his preference for nearly falling to his death like every couple of minutes in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly dangling from something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that happens as he, like, the plan was to go kill the power, and that doesn't happen. He gets ambushed by two of the lower henchmen, including this big Scottish guy who, like, they have this bit where the first time they did it, I will admit, it made me smile a little bit, where Nate is not able to understand the Scotsman. But then they repeat
continuous.
But then they repeat the joke, like, immediately afterwards, and I'm just like, okay, that completely just lost any goodwill that first one got me.
Yep.
Sully's got to outbid Moncada because it's to stall.
Not working right now.
This is like, which is funny. Like, if it went through, at least make him spend more money.
Yeah.
At least make Moncada spend more money. But so he fights. Nate has to do a diversion. Yeah, dangling from this shitty chandelier of fluorescent light bulbs. It just looked so shitty.
Just
and was a really
tubes
and a really bad set piece too.
Yeah. That's another prop designer could have done better.
Set design.
And in the commotion, Sully's able to somehow pull out a security guy's jacket. And
that he had
his jacket's reversible.
Oh, I missed that. I just saw him just pick it up.
He did the thing that I think they did that in like the Now You See Me movies, where they constantly just like flip their jackets around and were in the attire of the wait staff.
I shamefully enjoyed the first of those movies.
Now You See Me one's pretty good. Now You See Me too? Not so much.
Yeah, a little bit doo-doo, but I shamefully enjoyed that first one. So yeah, he eventually, he's able to, basically he planned for all this to go awry anyways, is what you can kind of deduce from that. And he was about to, like, leave Nate high and dry. First rule of this business, kid, don't get caught.
Box checked.
As he walks away with it, and does get stopped by Braddock, the mercenary. But then because he's dressed as a security guy, is able to convince some of the other real guards that she's trying to steal it from him. And he gets away. She's left to deal with them. But at the same point, they, like, when Sully gets in the car, somehow Nate has made it there. And he's all surprised. He's like, "How are you about to betray me?" Type of shit. But then they make their quick amends, and
they definitely did a we don't know how he's going to get out of this situation, so we're not going to show you.
Yeah, we're not going to show you how he did it. It's just it's just going to be like we'll play it for laughs, as he's already sitting there waiting, and you're going to be just as surprised as Sully. Yeah, he's doing the steeple fingers. I wonder why I've gathered you here today. You wonder why I got. So they fly to Barcelona to meet Chloe Fraser, so Sully's associate. So Chloe is the the protagonist of the underrated Uncharted Lost Legacy, the spin-off one. She takes on the main role there. Which, Andrew, do you know, did she have a role in the first game? Because yeah, that's the one I never played.
No, she's introduced in the second.
Yeah, I don't even remember that part. But like, yeah, we know from they have a past, and here they're just kind of
missed
trying to build on
opportunity. The protagonist of Lost Legacy should have been a long lost sister, Natasha Drake.
that. Fuck. All right, so she has the second cross in her possession that they explain again in a throwaway line that she found somewhere
With Sully, I think, if I remember.
I don't even remember that, but doesn't trust,
because that was how Sully was claiming like partial ownership of it, even though she had it.
Like they don't it's like nobody trusts anybody. That's like the big theme of the movie is trust. But she proves her untrustworthiness by stealing their cross out of Nate's bag, because Nate is bamboozled by a pretty girl.
And like
that, and you'd think that someone who they displayed in the bar scene at the beginning as the one doing the bamboozling to the pretty girl wouldn't be caught up.
Yeah, it takes him a while.
The Chad grind set.
No, it takes him a while. So then she runs away. They chase after her, doing a really shitty version of like the Casino Royale parkour chase scene.
That's exactly what I was thinking about as
and this is the
Walmart
only
Casino Royale.
This is the only part of the movie where it actually is trying to evoke the climbing chase elements of the games, but it is incredibly lame. There's almost zero verticality to it. Which I understand. There are absolutely ways to make, a climbing portion of this, like have stakes and all that, like it's fairly, climbing something, free climbing, something like that is always a dangerous and, energy or adrenaline spiking type of thing. So they could have easily done a part like that where he's got to climb some cliff face, and that would have been much more in line. But this was really lame. Again, it's supposed to be like, look at Tom Holland's natural physicality and his skills, and it just looks so bad. It's the type of thing where
I know they didn't do this explicitly, but it reeks of the like, oh, we're gonna put parkour in our movie and just have our character flip off things every time.
But they can't. Tom Holland doesn't even have so he's like doing his own stunts, but he doesn't even have like the skill of, say, of someone like Tom Cruise, who all stunt people be like, it's bad that Tom Cruise does his own stunts because when he gets hurt, it puts the entire production in jeopardy.
Like when he broke his ankle and most recent
or one of the Mission Impossible, the one where he jumps from one roof to another. But it's just like but at least Tom Cruise looks good doing it and like actually is believable and is like actually putting in effort.
Because Tom Cruise won't do a stunt unless it can legitimately end his life.
Right. But no, this just looks so
bad.
Because Tom Holland maybe had those skills in the past, but he's just now so used to the Disney-fied way of making a movie that any skills he had have totally gone to pasture.
Now, this might be an interesting aside. I was just thinking about it. If they wanted to go with a millennial age Nathan Drake, I know he's British and it might not work. Tom Holland's British too, isn't he? Fuck
yes,
it, never mind.
Yeah.
Taron Egerton is a much better gymnast in movies than, say, a Tom Holland.
I didn't even know
not as flat.
Also has an interesting singing voice.
Yeah.
Yes. Songbird of our generation.
Yeah, so some stuff happens. They catch up. They realize that they need each other because Nate's got the actual clue of where they need to go, and that's not really important. But then we cut to the Moncada Foundation headquarters, where Antonio Banderas is upset that his father is
he's a fail son.
Giving up.
Well, yeah, Antonio Banderas is a fail son, so representation. But like that Mancado Senor, he's like, got he's like dealing with the
Deathbed
remorse,
guilt.
the guilt of realizing that coming to terms with the reality of his family's fortune for all the crimes against humanity that they perpetrated throughout history.
And he wanted to donate it, right? Like give it all to charity.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
like giving it all away. Yeah. They then have another chat, and Antonio Banderas has Braddock the mercenary kill the father before he takes off with all the money to do his own expedition. So this is now the second time that Braddock uses her cool curved knife that they show at different times to kill or maim somebody without showing any blood. And this is something that will keep happening. This was an entirely bloodless
PG-13.
So there are blood in Pete. There's blood
in one scene, and it's very minimal. It looks like a red marker.
We'll get to it because I have that noted as well. So that then it cuts back. Nate, Sully, and Chloe are at the church. They do some Da Vinci Code snooping.
Yeah, with some insane logic leaps. Apparently, Nathan has a encyclopedic knowledge of all the churches.
They use the crosses, open some entrances, set off a booby trap because Sully misreads the instructions in the diary. And so it's like, he in the chase scene, Sully can't run because he's got a bad ankle. He can't read the book without his glasses. He has a million apps open on his phone. Get it? He's old. He's old, folks.
He's a boomer.
Yeah, he's absolutely boomerfied.
I'd be lying if I said that the million apps open on his phone the first time they talked about it did, like you said, put a little like smirk on my face.
Yeah, but then they kind of play it to death. But yeah, no, that is a confirmed old person trait, no doubt about it. So they have to split up. Chloe gives some, the sob story about her past and why she can't trust anybody because her father, fucked off and took all their money, and some stuff that is so much more better done in Lost Legacy.
Yeah,
in the game, so done so
because
much
in a
better.
game like that, you can spread it out over multiple hours and like piecemeal it to people. And here they're like, well, we have like, how long is this? Like just under 2 hours, like an hour and 59 minutes or something like that. Like we just spent like 30 minutes doing like 12 different action scenes. So now we need to like speed through this lore dump so that we can get back to speed running through action scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's done well there because the main story is tied into her, like, what she's doing now is basically finishing the work that her father did. That is what he, went and fucked off and left her and her mother behind to go pursue this dream. Is exactly what they're doing. She's doing in the Lost Legacy. So it's coming to terms with that. So yeah, much better done. Like you said, much more opportunity for actual character growth and development. So yeah, they go on they go on this shitty Da Vinci Code adventure. They somehow end up in a nightclub.
Ridiculous fight sequence where no one in the club reacts at all to it. It's very strange.
They start cheering. They set a fire to distract them, and they start cheering. Nate does more epic bartending, but this time with punches involved. It's so wild. It's so stupid.
I'd also like to point out that in the entire nightclub, Nathan like blatantly stood out as like one of the only white shirts.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, don't lose our generic looking character in the generic looking crowd of people.
Look for the child in a white t-shirt.
Look for the person who looks like they used a fake ID to get in.
Yeah.
So they escape from the club, open up another trap door in the wall or some shit. They get stuck in a room filling with water. That's like a test from them. That's again, this is all aping from like Da Vinci Code shit.
Yeah.
and Dan Brown has a suit on his hands that he could walk away with some money here. So Sully's got is the one they need to it's basically it's all about trust. It's comes back down to trust. The test is you need to trust in your fellow man, and it's that they had to split up and he's got to unlock it for them. So he is following these coordinates, ends up wandering into a Papa John's that's got
he's following in particular a Find My iPhone.
Yeah. He walks into a Papa John's, finds that the other keyhole is like behind glass in like a fresco on the wall, but gets
the most fancy Papa John's you've ever seen.
Yeah, gets ambushed by the mercenary Braddock. And so my note here was like, as all this is going on, I'm like, is this the reckoning that the actual Papa John foretold in his infamous front-facing camera video?
I think you could interpret it that way.
See, the new Papa John is Shaquille O'Neal.
All right, so eventually they get where this trail leads, right? And they think they found the treasure, only to have these like giant urns be filled with salt, not gold. But then he eventually finds that there's like another map hidden in there. Chloe betrays him, pistol whips it, or before pistol whipping him and knocking him unconscious, tells him that, Sully is keeping the truth about Sam from him, and then, whacks him across the head. When Sully finds Nate, they have their confrontation where Sully admits that he and Sam, while doing all this adventuring, were ambushed by Braddock, the mercenary, who shot Sam, and Sully left him for dead. Nate gets pissed and runs away.
See, this is where like the deviation from the game canon kind of bothered me more than it did other places necessarily, in that like Nate doesn't abandon, but Nate has to leave Sam behind in the games after being shot, and like that provides a little bit more emotional weight to like Nate feeling like he might be somewhat or somehow responsible for his brother's potential death, like
the weight of his sins crawling on his back.
Yeah, so like putting that onto Sully, I wasn't a fan.
No, I would agree with that absolutely.
Yeah, but you can't have your MC of your new multi-billion-dollar movie franchise that you think you're starting be a bad guy.
Be morally questionable. Leave that for the sidekick.
Which is a shame, because Nathan Drake is absolutely, he's your protagonist, but he regularly makes decisions that are morally questionable.
The whole thing about being a treasure hunter, is
morally
his whole job.
That is not morally questionable. That is morally bad.
Yeah.
So that is definitively a bad guy thing.
Yeah.
But it's only a bad guy thing when the people with the funny accents do it in the movie. The guy with the American accent and the bullwhip does it. It's preservation.
This belongs in the museum. Yeah, this belongs in the museum. You can't be trusted to preserve your own cultural artifacts. But yeah, so Nate runs away again, and he reads some more of Sam's postcards showing that Sam was an absolute cornball.
You see, yeah.
I wish I had written down what the actual messages were.
I haven't forgot my promise.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just like some real live, laugh, love type shit. He's written on these random ass postcards.
All just LeBron James tweets.
That's somehow not how, it's like it's implied that that the level of communication that they have is just one way, right? That it's just Sam sending all these postcards. It's never implied that Nathan ever replies. But so my question was always, because you could, if you
Nathan leaves them on red.
If you peep the actual things, it looks like he's sending them to different addresses. So it's like, how does Sam keep tabs on him and know when and where Nathan moves to?
It's a good question.
Got a GPS tracker in his bunghole.
Yeah.
All right. So it's revealed that Chloe was actually working for Antonio Banderas the whole time. She brings him the map. and basically gives her control of the operation moving forward, because Braddock has been an absolute shambles, a masterclass in failure up until this point. So,
would you say that that's the fail son's fail son?
Yeah. So the failed daughter. Yeah. So Braddock is pissed. She has been usurped by Chloe, who's just shown up on the scene. But Moncada, is like, oh, actually, I hired her the same day I hired you.
Moncada's doing a play both sides so you always win.
Mm-hmm. So they prep to head to the Philippines. They gather their crew. Nate and Sully reconcile immediately. And
because they have to.
Yeah, because they have to, because of plot. They stow away on the plane, in the trunk of the car, which there's the line where it's like, oh, they had to spend 10 hours in the trunk of that car, again, implied, pissing and shitting into a bag, or into each other's hands, for 10 hours. Wonderful. Cramped to this trunk. Yeah, it must have smelled wild up in there. Yeah. Moncada gathers his crew as they do like the Indiana Jones bit of showing the plane going from one destination to another over a stylized map.
Very creative.
Talks about how that Magellan and his crew betrayed his family. The gold belongs to him. And then Braddock slits his throat. Yes. It's like, your daddy was right. You were a fail son. You don't deserve this gold. And so this was what I had marked here. The third time now that where there's no blood, no spray, nothing. There isn't even a pool of blood when Nate and Sully find the dead body.
No pool.
Just a thin red line on his neck. So that's it.
That clearly identifies that he wasn't a person, that he was either a zombie or a vampire.
So he was a demon husk. So yeah, it was just I just could not believe how bloodless this whole thing was. It was really, really upsetting. All right, so things keep going. It's that's where we then catch up to where the movie started, the cargo plane scene. Nate, not listening to Sully, just taking a parachute and dipping. He's got to confront Braddock for shooting Sam. That results in a shootout where Nate pulls the cord to have the cargo start going out, and shit gets wild. You find out that it was Chloe was hiding in the car, because after Braddock killed Moncada, she's obviously going after her next. No loose ends. It was like, what? She gonna go to the cops or something? Like what the fuck? No loose ends. That made no sense either. It's more just, makes more sense. It's like, just kill this bitch. Bring her on board. Or no, it's just kill this bitch. She tried to steal my job, type of thing. Yeah, she tried to take my credit.
I'd also like to point out that there are multiple points during this set of set pieces where Nathan Drake dies, or
should have died,
injured and would be dead.
Should have died.
100%.
Falling out the plane and getting his leg caught in the cargo.
At least a dislocated hip.
That's a broken ankle at the very least.
I was going to say at least a dislocated hip, as that just your leg just gets pulled from you. So she's like in the car. She drives it out, like has I've got a crazy idea. Drives the car out the back of the plane. That is her plan the whole time, to then jump from there onto a cargo load that has a parachute that lands in the ocean. That was my bit, was like they totally died when the cargo hits the water. Comes out?
Yes,
it's when the cargo hits the water with the speed that they had the cargo hit the water.
Yes,
so it's like, no, dead, immediately dead.
My immediate reaction is when they pull the chute on the cargo, they should be ripped off almost immediately, because they're not like at all firmly attached to that thing. And inertia loves to throw you.
So just some god awful CG there, I have to say, though. Just
Yep.
throughout that whole thing, just some really terrible CG.
Very clearly
They
a wire on a green screen with a fan.
they are, so they are seem like that they're, just like out on the ocean with no hope until they miraculously come across some beach resort thing, and they walk out of the ocean, doing their supermodel walks. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but the person that they talked to, on the beach, where they say like, "What just happened?" "Oh, fell out of a car that fell out of a plane." It's like, "Huh, that happened to me once." It's the Nathan Drake voice actor.
Yeah.
Nolan North.
Yeah. Who's
shout out.
So he gets his cameo there.
I would have rathered him play Sully.
That would have been interesting. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, but you see, then if he outshined Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, you'd have angry fans demanding retribution. That's why you only do him as a brief little sprinkle cameo.
Somehow they get another. They have enough cash to get a room at this resort.
Yeah.
Nate looks through more of Sam's postcards and finds some more hidden messages that the keys are your compass. That the Magellan keys, like, that he pulls some shit out and like uses the map to realize, oh, what the map shows, it's not actually the correct location. So Braddock is going to the wrong place. So he finds the real thing, is about to like tell Chloe that he found the answer, but he stops, realizes that, moment of doubt, so he writes down the coordinates. Turns out they're fake coordinates because she, sees them, takes them, and fucks off. But then Nate pulls out the right coordinates. So here we have that that Nate has learned that the true message of the film, that you can't trust women.
Or Mark Wahlberg.
He eventually does. So no, you can eventually learn to trust daddy.
Yes.
Just not women. Never women. Women are snakes.
They're harlots.
They're out to get you. They're only in it for themselves.
I changed my mind. Realizing that is the messaging of this movie. I think I like it.
So knowing with the actual coordinates, Nate finds these two intact ships that contain all the gold. And Sully shows up. He was tracking him this whole time. That's where they pull out I've got a million apps open again. I never closed the one that I was tracking you on. So he did it that way. But so here for me was like, there is no way that these ships would not just fucking crumble and fall apart after being beached for 500 years as Braddock discovers them and tries to have them airlifted out.
Yeah.
I was just
as soon as they got picked up, they would just be turned to dust.
Fucking way.
Even people walking on those things was a reach for me. Like, that shit was so rotted.
So they get pulled up, the fights ensue, the goons proceed to absolutely trash these priceless artifacts. It's like the ships themselves are like worth more than the gold. And it's just like it's hilarious. Like they just absolutely destroy this shit. Sully hijacks one of the helicopters, got to have his naval war crime experience, coming back into play. As he
a ship battle in air.
Well, so yeah, as he takes control of this helicopter, also absconding with another nation's rightful wealth.
Yeah.
So they fight Nate and Sully fight all the dudes. The Scotsman goon and who's flying the other helicopter ends up crashing after Nate shoots the helicopter with a fucking
cannonball.
with a fucking cannonball.
Can someone tell me where he got the black powder from? Because he pulls it out of his pocket like he always had it.
There is a quick little bit. It's a split second thing, so I know why you missed it. As he's like rushing up, he sees in a little dusty pile. He goes, "Oh, black powder," and takes a pouch. It takes a pouch.
Okay, I was gonna say this motherfucker's been carrying black powder.
No, it was Chekhov's black powder. I mean, it was. They did it with enough reason to know that that's coming back. So that was no surprise. But yeah, no, I did clock that. So they so Nate shoots down the other helicopter by shooting it with a fucking cannonball. Braddock is like the only one who survives. All the other goons. Nate's trying to climb up to the helicopter. She's like chasing after him, and Sully has to make a choice. Saving Nate or rescuing his backpack full of gold. He after a quick second of indecision, he chucks the bag of gold at Braddock, sending her falling into the ocean, where again broken back right there. Pulls Nate up, and like the second ship breaks or something, or like the connection to the helicopter breaks, and it falls right on top of her head. And then they're like looking at, like, there's a moment where the ship, the wind catches the sails, and they're like, look at that, beautiful, could you put a price on that? And it's like, yeah, somewhere between $4 and $6 billion, and then it sinks to the bottom of the ocean.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, they make it seem like a bad thing that the Philippines gets to keep the gold that some fucking colonizers tried to steal from them like 500 years ago. It's like, well, they're like, well, too bad, it belongs to them now, and it's like the Philippine Coast Guard.
It's for the people.
Not that it always did belong to them.
Yeah, and then they ride off into the sunset, right? Yeah,
revealing that Nate saved some gold. They look down and basically give a fuck you to Chloe, who, again, foolish woman, like you've been tricked, haha.
Gotcha, bitch.
And so then we get some like the credits things. We get like the one before the credits roll. We cut to a prison where you see that Sam is still alive and writing yet another postcard. It's like, where is this man getting all these postcards in prison?
For real.
And this absolute shithole of a prison.
I mean, it's clear you've seen the documentary just as I have. It means he has a stand that's fetching things for him out of prison.
And like, you're telling me those are actually being sent? Like, in reality, there's no way you give that to the guard and the guard would use it as toilet paper. Like,
yeah. Then we get a mid-credit scene where we already kind of address. He's meeting a man named Gage, acquiring an item for another man named Roman. So this is setting up the events of the first video game. Sully's got his mustache, which Nate makes fun of, and then they try to make their escape and they get fucked. And then it cuts, and that's it. Setting up for another sequel. Who knows if
make a sequel?
Yeah, so who knows if that'll happen?
I have a terminal addiction to movies that set up a sequel that never come.
Yeah, it's very funny. Very funny to me. So yeah, we already talked about some general thoughts about this. That I don't know. I just like, so the one that I have real remaining is like, so it took until that climax of the movie where they're fighting the dudes on the ship that like he must take it from one of the henchmen. Nate like puts on his gun belt, his gun belt thing, his shoulder holster,
the holsters,
and he like fires a gun like once. But it's like, as significant as the third person shooting is in the games, there is basically zero gunplay.
There's no guns,
and he doesn't pick up a gun until the last 10 minutes.
You know what they should have done, and maybe we'll cover this in an episode if we ever discuss the Rock's Doom movie from like 2004.
Ooh.
But the one thing that movie did really well was at the very end, right before the climactic fight scene, they give you actual Doom first person.
Yes, they do.
Gun sticking out from the middle.
See, I find that to be incredibly corny.
Yes, but they could have done it here. They could have gone the over the shoulder camera, and we could have been, he could have been ducking down below the
Could have been a cool scene.
through cover. The one bit that was kind of cool that didn't actually just occur to me until right now is that in that post-credit scene when he steals the gun from the guy who had pulled it on him, it's a gold gun. If Andrew, if you recall, like there will be certain like high-powered guns that are when you
Yes.
pick them up, they're gold.
Yes, I remember.
The just the visual thing on not the gun itself, but like the visual for the gun is gold. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, as I said at the top, you know, this movie like basically shouldn't have existed. This is, you know, Sony and their board trying to capitalize on IP without, I mean, and we've talked about this in general, and I think this is going to be an overall theme of these adaptations for the most part, is that these adaptations are not for fans of the games, right? They are not meant to appease them. They're trying to have both. They're trying to bank on an IP that they can draw an audience in to make money, but they're not trying to please them, right? Because they also want to go beyond that. It's like it's a safe bet because they will be able to trick a good amount of the game fan base to come see it. They'll be pissed. But then they'll get more people who have never played the games who are like, who'll be like, yeah, cool. This is just a new action franchise, right?
So I would say that this definitely falls into that category. I'm not going to write it off as an entirety yet, where like I think Last of Us is looking like it's going to shape up to be pretty faithful to the original medium.
Yeah, I'm hearing good things.
Yeah. Find out this weekend.
Who knows? I don't know how you could physically fuck up a Gran Turismo tie-in, like just
cool looking cars. You don't need anything else besides that. That one is amazing to me that they're doing an adaptation. So here I've got Mike's thoughts here. So he agrees with us that, like, you know, that there needed to be more Uncharted wall climbing, you know, that they did not adapt that element of it at all as a significant part of the gameplay. His main thing is that the movie was too long.
Definitely.
And I agree with so much that happened in that first bit. Like, yeah, they could have easily made that a 90-minute movie. And his thing here is his bit was like that, like, you know, the pirate theme element is that he just kept finding himself wanting Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack.
Yeah, it's like, where's Captain Jack? I'm here. I mean, they make a Jack Sparrow joke there that is also very bad.
Yes, they do.
Well, yeah, I just don't think it's a good adaptation. That's
no, I agree. And for me, there's two things that it really misses. One is the gunplay is huge, but like I said earlier, the pacing, like the video games I always found to be paced really well, in this movie is just not at all. And the other is like the Uncharted series as a whole, I think tells a story or like messages that like a lot of this stuff isn't actually as good as it seems and doesn't ever work out for anyone in any way, really. Like Nathan, even when he's winning, doesn't really win. It's winning is kind of like he lives in the games.
Yeah.
So like I didn't feel like this movie conveyed any of that. Like there was no switch. They actually found the gold. Like in I think all of the games, they actually don't really ever find actually what they're looking for. It's always slightly different or subverted in a way. And they didn't do that.
I mean, because they do have an interesting kind of dialogue on the malleability of history as well, right? You know, that they were playing off these legends and these these tales of, you know, unimaginable wealth and all this, and like you just said, nothing ever is what it seems, what you think it's gonna be.
Well, that's like when they find the urns and it's filled with salt. I was personally at that point ready for the movie to be done. I was like, oh, cool.
Like,
so
it's good.
Like the treasure of Magellan was like a shit ton of salt because salt was really valuable back then. Like, cool. I'm cool with that.
No, you're right. That would have been awesome. I mean, like they did a bit of that in the final ship, right? Where they're like, oh, like say this, it's topped with cloves and stuff, because they said they're like, oh, at the time spices were worth almost as much as gold.
Yeah,
and it's just like, no, that's what it should have been. The gold should have been a metaphor, you know, for some other type of resource. But again, because of course, I do not expect a major Hollywood movie again to really dive into again the predatory nature of this kind of this is like kind of resource extraction, but removed by several hundred years.
Mhm.
And it's like how, again, it's like it doesn't touch at all onto how again morally corrupt all these
Yes.
people are, how Sully is really no different than Braddock,
Right.
in this realm, is that they are, while Sully maybe doesn't go out and actively try to kill people with no blood.
She's not killing
like,
people, she's killing demons, sir. Like,
yeah,
she's doing this world a service.
Yeah, she's releasing them from this mortal coil so they cannot walk amongst us anymore. But they are not good people.
No.
They're just slightly less bad than these others, which is, again, it's like you get you get that in the games as well, is that like the antagonist that you have them facing the other time, again, it's always supposed to be, and it's tropey in this way, but that it's like they're the pale reflection of our characters, right? They're like,
absolutely,
this is it's basically that Nathan could be these characters if he just makes slightly different choices.
Absolutely.
And you don't get that here at all. It's because it's, again, these are heroes. These are our boys.
Yeah, they're trying to set up a franchise that's going to appeal to, kids might not be the right term, but like younger generation to like young adult. They want this to be their, Indiana Jones. They want this to be their new treasure hunting IP that they go to watch the movies.
Yep. And I mean, I don't think
you can't have that. So
I really don't think it made enough money for them to do another one.
The fact that they've not announced any sequel plans to date does make me feel like, I mean, every day that doesn't happen, I feel like it's less and less likely.
I mean, so Sony is they're not afraid to cut bait when they think something isn't working. Like, we got that Ratchet and Clank movie back in 2016 that didn't get the reception they expected, so they didn't pursue any more additional shows or movies after that. They kind of just left it as it was. That's also something I thought we might, discuss at some point.
Yes, I would love to do that.
I watched it. I remember watching it and I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
Do a month of Ratchet and Clank and just do Ratchet and Clank the series review, Ratchet and Clank the movie review.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a series that I want to do. Like, I actually have my background blurred here. I shouldn't, but like, I don't know if you can see. I've got Ratchet and Rivet.
Oh, hell yeah!
On my shelf.
Wow, you have the woke on your shelf.
I do need to get a Clank one though. I do need to get the Clank one. It's obligatory.
I like that Ronnie is staring at me over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks. That'll do it for our first adaptation review. Be on the lookout for more of these coming up. We've got a little bit of behind the scenes scheduling that we got to take care of, so we won't announce what we're doing next. But this is like a nice little bit of a palate cleanser for us. So lets us do kind of something different, but still in the same genre, so to say. So we're digging it. I had a good time. Again, I didn't actually hate the movie.
I'm gonna give this episode a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give the movie itself, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna be kind, generous, Matt, and I'm gonna give it a 6.
I was gonna say 6.5. Not terrible, not good.
Yeah,
like objectively not a failure, but also like objectively didn't do enough to consider like good enough to pass.
It's a good like FX movie,
Yes,
I would have watched. Yeah, I would have watched this on FX back in the day when there was no streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Can you imagine watching this movie chopped up with all the commercials?
Oh my god, the pacing would have been even fucking worse. Oh my god. All right. So plug time, folks. Follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/campaign comrades. Follow us on Twitter at CampCompod. And I think that's it. Yeah, as usual, Mike's not here. He doesn't get his plug.
That's the rules.
Yeah,
I didn't write them.
Yeah, gotta be here to plug it. All right, folks. We will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.